God can make up for lost time. So do not worry. A lot of times we like to place our timelines of our lives in society's time frame, meaning like the time when it's to have children, or the time to be married, or the time that you should have graduated, or having a degree in order to be valuable. We like to base our statutes in life based off of man's time and values, when really it should be whatever it is in God's time. The point that I'm trying to make is that everything has a time, just like it is in Ecclesiastes, I believe the 3rd chapter. It talks about how there's a time for everything, a time to laugh, a time to cry. There's a time for everything. So when we are within God's time frame, he is outside of man's time frame. He holds all time in his hand. So it's really whatever time he has for you. Compare yourself to people, because you might be thinking that, oh, a lot of people are getting married, or these couples are getting married at the age that I thought I was going to be married. And you don't know down the line in 5-10 years that they end up divorced. So what I'm saying is, like, there's just different timelines for everybody, and God sometimes will accelerate someone's life, and then sometimes he will slow down your life, meaning that there's something that needs to be taking place in that time of slowing down, a developing of your soul. So for example, say you are late to work in the morning, something happens not out of the plan that you would have, and you're late for work, and you're like, oh, I have to still stop and I have to get gas. And now you're angry, you're furious, you're mad, and now you just have an attitude. Suppose when you were making your stop at the gas station, suppose you bumped into your spouse while you were there, when you had to go into the ATM. So sometimes I'm just saying, like, there is just plans that are out of our control, that God knows exactly what he's doing. And sometimes you'll be at a place where you have been slowed down in life, and maybe you lost your job. Maybe you feel like you're in a hole right now, or you're just 10 years behind everyone else. And then all of a sudden, God just accelerates you so fast, and now you're 10 years ahead of someone that you thought you were behind. What I am trying to say is, do not lean on your idea of time, or man's idea of time, but lean into God's idea of time and what time he has for you. This also just reminds me of the story of Job, and how Job lost it all, his family members, he's lost his riches, and then it just probably seemed to everyone that he had everything, and now he doesn't have everything. It's just a timeline. But the point is, it's all a part of God's plan. Just for God to know that he knew that Job would not forsake him. He knew that Job was still going to have faithfulness, and still going to love God and speak highly of God and still serve him. And his life was going to be an example for the world. Just for him to take Job through that slowing down period and bless him double fold over, more than he can even think. So we have to stop getting so caught up in man's time and man's time frame, and start to understand that God is the one who holds time, and he knows the exact appointed time. And for people who are single, and you're thinking, when am I going to get married, or when am I going to meet my spouse? I have been thinking this, and this is just a personal testimony, and I want to be transparent with you guys. I was kind of dealing with that. I was like, how come it's like I haven't met the person that I'm supposed to be married to yet? I feel like, I'm at an age where I thought, within my own thought and my own strength, I was like, I thought that this was supposed to happen by now. And what I felt is that I think sometimes we have to realize that sometimes you being in a time of waiting, your spouse could be somewhere else being prepared for you. Maybe God is accelerating them or delaying them at a certain time or pace, because that person is taking development, and their soul is being prepared, and they're growing closer to God, and they're walking. Just things are taking place with that person, and maybe they're not ready for you, or maybe you're not ready and prepared for that spouse yet. So it's an appointed time. God does not mess up. He doesn't mess up. He knows, like, okay, when these two people are ready to meet, It's going to happen at the appointed time, and I need them to both be prepared for each other, to be a wife and to be a husband. So it can, and another thing is, I just want to remind you is that it can happen overnight. This is the same God that created this entire world, this entire universe, life, human. He gave us breath. So what makes you think that he cannot change your situation in a week, in a month, in a day? Don't think about it as, I've lost 10 years of my life and I'm not going to be able to get it back. It's a part of God's plan. It's a part of his plan. Do not think for a second that you are behind, because just like you now see that someone who was struggling a week ago, and in 2 years they're able to buy a house, they're able to buy a mansion, they're able to buy a car. These are just material things, but what I'm saying is, like, God just has different timelines for everyone. Everyone has their time. And I encourage you to just read Ecclesiastes 3 and even the story of Job. And I feel like those two books really will help you to understand, like, God's time frame and how he accelerates, and how there's just a time for everything, and to just trust in his timing, really. So I just wanted to encourage anybody who is having doubts or feeling like you have lost time, you have lost years, and you feel like they cannot be made up. But God is the restorer of all things. He can restore and he can replenish. So I just want to encourage you today to continue to hold on to what God says and not man, and continue to follow him, and continue to just let him prepare you and develop your soul, so that when it is time for you to be accelerated, you're ready. Sometimes I feel as though that, like, we just continuously keep going around and around in the same wilderness circle, because God is just simply probably testing your faith. It could be about faith. It could be that you're still just depending on your own strength. Maybe God is just keeping you in a place of just wanting you to finally just surrender and just have complete faith in him before he can excel you forward. So just try to continue to pray to God to show you what it is that he is showing you and teaching you within a season. If you feel like you have lost time, or you are in a time of slow period in your life, I want to encourage you today to continue to just hold on to God, continue to hold on to his time frame and not man's. And in due time, Lord willing, he will excel you. It will be your time. So I encourage all of you today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.